The Arctic wind didn't just blow across the base, it tore through it like something alive. White snow spiraled violently under searchlights, wrapping the entire military outpost in a shifting veil of darkness and frost. Engines roared in the distance, aircraft warming up for deployment. Every sound felt sharper here, as if even noise froze midair before falling to the ground. Inside the command facility, First Lieutenant Emily Carter stood motionless in front of a glowing tactical display. Her face was calm, too calm. Around her, high-ranking officers spoke in low, urgent tones, but she wasn't listening to the noise anymore. She was reading patterns, movements, coordinates, probabilities. That's what kept her alive. The general finally stepped forward. "This is no longer a border situation," he said firmly. "Russian forces have crossed the Arctic defense line, multiple satellite confirmations. This is active war escalation." A heavy silence fell over the room. The words didn't feel real. But war never does, until it's already too late. The weight of the mission. Emily didn't react immediately. She simply studied the map. The Arctic zone was a dead land, endless ice sheets, unstable weather systems, no civilian presence, no strategic value on paper. And yet Russia was there. That alone made everything wrong. The general turned toward her. "Carter, your unit has been selected for immediate deployment. Sector Delta 9, deep reconnaissance. Confirm enemy installation and report back." A pause. Then the sentence that changed everything. "No satellite support beyond entry point. No air backup. If you are compromised, extraction is not guaranteed." The room felt colder than the Arctic outside. One officer muttered under his breath, "That's a suicide drop." Emily heard it. But she didn't react. Instead, she stepped forward. "Rules of engagement?" she asked. The general hesitated for a fraction of a second too long. "Discretionary." That answer said everything. Kill if necessary. Survive if possible. Don't get caught. Emily nodded once, understood. No fear, no emotion. But inside, something shifted. This wasn't just another mission briefing. It felt like a door being closed behind her. A soldier built from loss. As she left the briefing room, her footsteps echoed through the corridor. A younger officer looked at her as she passed. There was admiration in his eyes and concern. Because everyone knew her name. Not because she spoke loudly, but because she survived things others didn't. Afghanistan, black operations, Arctic rescue missions gone wrong. And the incident nobody talked about. A mission where her entire squad vanished under unknown enemy fire. She was the only one who came back. After that, she stopped asking questions. She just followed orders. Because that was easier than remembering faces that were no longer there. Preparation for the unknown. Outside, the storm intensified. Snow slammed against the hangar doors as Emily walked toward the transport aircraft. Her team was already waiting. Sergeant Mike Holloway leaned against a crate, checking explosive charges with practiced hands. He was the kind of soldier who joked in danger, but went silent when things got real. Corporal Jenna Reyes stood nearby, adjusting her sniper rifle with precise movements. Her eyes were sharp, scanning everything, missing nothing. Specialist Noah Kim sat on a case, tapping through encrypted devices, trying to maintain a signal in the storm. "Tell me this is just another cold weather drill," Mike said when Emily approached. She didn't answer immediately. That silence was enough. Noah looked up. "That bad, huh?" Emily checked her rifle once. Twice. Then spoke. "Russian forces crossed Delta Line. We confirm presence, extract intel, and return." Jenna frowned. "And if we're detected?" Emily met her eyes. "There is no if in this mission." That sentence hit harder than the cold wind, because it meant they were already inside danger before they even left the ground. Lift off into the white abyss. The aircraft engines roared like thunder, trapped in metal. As the ramp closed, the world outside disappeared, swallowed by snow, darkness, and distance. Inside, the lighting was dim. Emergency strips cast a dull orange glow across the cabin. No one spoke. The only sound was vibration from the engines and the soft clinking of gear. Mike finally broke the silence. You ever notice how they always send us to places nobody wants to talk about later? Jenna didn't look up. That's every mission. Noah shook his head slightly. This one feels different. Emily stared at the floor for a moment, then said quietly, because it is. The aircraft shook as it entered turbulence. Outside, the Arctic stretched endlessly, white nothingness with no landmarks, no direction, no mercy. Only ice. Only silence. The first glitch. 43 minutes into flight, Noah's device suddenly beeped. He frowned. That's not possible. Emily looked up. What is it? He adjusted frequencies. We're picking up a transmission. Mike leaned in. Russian. Noah hesitated. Encrypted, but yes. Emily stepped closer. The signal wasn't strong. It was broken, distorted, almost like it was coming from deep underground. Then it changed. A second signal overlapped it. Different frequency, unknown origin. Noah's face tightened. That shouldn't exist out here. There are no relay stations this far north. The aircraft shook slightly. Jenna narrowed her eyes. Then where is it coming from? Emily didn't answer immediately, because she was thinking the same thing. Something was already down there, waiting, landing in nothingness. The drop zone appeared as a faint break in the endless white. No runway, no markers, just a flattened ice ridge barely visible through the storm. The ramp lowered slowly. Cold air rushed in instantly, biting through layers of gear like it was nothing. Mike exhaled sharply. Welcome to hell. One by one, they dropped into the snow. The aircraft lifted away almost immediately, vanishing into the storm like it was never there. Now it was just them. 4 soldiers. And a frozen world that didn't care if they lived or died. The first footprint of war. They moved carefully across the ridge, scanning for movement. Visibility was low. Too low. Every step sounded louder than it should. Then Jenna stopped abruptly. Hold. Everyone froze. She raised her scope slowly. Far ahead, movement. 3 figures. White camouflage blending into snow. Russian patrol. Mike whispered, too close. Emily crouched instantly. Stay down. The enemy passed slowly, just meters away. Breathing visible. Weapons ready. If they turned even slightly, it would be over. But they didn't. They moved past, disappearing into the storm. Silence returned. But it wasn't peace. It was tension waiting to explode. The structure beneath the ice. Noah raised his scanner again. This way, I'm getting a stronger signal. They followed him carefully through rising terrain. Then Jenna froze again. Guys. They looked up and saw it. A massive structure partially buried beneath the ice. Metal. Industrial. Hidden. And active. A faint red glow pulsed from deep within it like a heartbeat trapped underground. Mike whispered, that's not military. Noah shook his head. No, that's something else. Emily stared at it longer than she should have. Her instincts screamed at her. This wasn't just an enemy base. It was something deeper. Something wrong. She tightened her grip on her rifle. and gave the only order that mattered now. "We move in." The wind howled louder as they moved closer to the structure beneath the ice. It wasn't just cold anymore. It felt like pressure, like the Arctic itself was warning them to turn back. But Emily Carter didn't believe in warnings, only in facts. And the fact in front of her was simple. Something massive had been built here, in complete secrecy, approaching the impossible. They moved in a tight formation. Emily in front, Mike covering left flank, Jenna scanning high angles, Noah managing signals that kept breaking every few seconds. The structure grew larger with every step. From a distance, it had looked like a buried bunker. Now it looked like a fortress carved into the earth itself. Steel plates reinforced with unknown alloys, frozen ventilation shafts, security turrets half hidden under ice layers. And footprints. Fresh ones. Mike crouched down. "These aren't old." Jenna confirmed immediately. "Less than an hour." Noah swallowed. "So they know we're out here." Emily didn't respond, because she was already thinking 3 steps ahead. If they knew, then the question wasn't if they would be caught. It was when. The first breach point. Noah found an access panel partially hidden beneath snow. "Maintenance entry," he whispered. "Weak encryption, but it's unstable, could trigger a silent alert." Mike raised an eyebrow, "Or a loud one." Noah gave him a flat look, "Or a very loud one." Emily stepped forward. "Noah, open it." He hesitated for half a second, then started working. The wind roared around them as his device connected to the panel. Numbers flickered across the screen. "Error, error, access denied." Then, a click. Silence. The panel unlocked. Mike exhaled. That was too easy. Emily's voice was cold. "Nothing here is easy." The entrance slid open slowly, revealing darkness underneath the ice. A breath of warm air escaped from inside. Warm air. In the Arctic. That alone was wrong. Inside the ice wall. They entered one by one. The temperature shift was immediate. From freezing storm to controlled industrial cold. Emergency, red lights flickered along metal corridors stretching deep into the structure. No snow. No wind. Only silence. Too much silence. Jenna whispered, "This place is alive." Mike checked corners, "Or waiting." Noah scanned the walls. "Power grid is active. This facility isn't abandoned, it's fully operational." Emily raised her hand. "Stop." Footsteps. Faint. Coming closer. They pressed against the wall. 2 Russian soldiers walked past the corridor intersection ahead. Talking quietly. Relaxed. Not expecting intrusion. Emily signaled. 3 seconds. Mike nodded. Then, they moved. 2 silent shots. 2 bodies dropped before sound even registered. The corridor went still again. Jenna exhaled slowly, "Too clean." Emily stepped forward over the bodies. Then we're already inside their blind spot. That was the problem. Blind spots meant systems weren't designed for intruders, which meant something here was never meant to be discovered. The underground truth. They followed the corridor deeper. Doors lined the sides, sealed, reinforced, numbered in Russian military codes. Noah paused at one terminal. His fingers froze. "This is not a standard base layout." Mike leaned in. "Explain." Noah's voice dropped. "These sections, they aren't defensive. They're research zones." Jenna frowned. "Research for what?" Noah hesitated, then opened a file. A classified schematic flashed on his screen. Emily saw it, and for the first time, her expression changed. Just slightly. But enough. Mike noticed, "What is it?" Emily didn't answer immediately, because the answer didn't make sense. Finally, she said, "This facility isn't just military." She looked at the corridor stretching into darkness. "It's a weapons development site." A pause. Then she added, "A next-generation energy prototype." Silence fell instantly. Even the wind outside the structure felt distant now. Mike whispered, "Energy weapon here." No one nodded slowly. If this data is correct, it's capable of disabling electronic systems across entire regions. Jenna shook her head. "That's impossible." Emily's voice cut through. "Not impossible, just hidden. The alarm that shouldn't exist." A sudden sound. Soft. Then sharp. Then blaring. Sirens. Red lights exploded across the corridor. Noah's eyes widened. "No, no, no, someone triggered containment protocol." Mike cursed, "We've been detected." Metal doors slammed shut behind them. Then ahead, locking them inside a narrowing corridor. Emily moved instantly. "Forward now." Jenna turned. "We're boxed in." Emily didn't slow. "We're not boxed in, we're being guided." That made it worse, because it meant someone wasn't just reacting. They were controlling the response. The first counterattack. Gunfire erupted from the far end of the corridor. Russian soldiers pouring in. Vast. Organized. Not panicked. This was not a random response. It was coordinated containment. Mike pulled a detonator. "I can blow the side panel." Emily snapped, "Not yet." Bullets ricocheted off metal walls. Jenna dropped behind cover, firing controlled shots. One enemy down. Then another. But more kept coming. Noah shouted, "We need to move now." Emily finally made the call. "Go." Mike planted a small charge. Explosion ripped through the wall. Steam and dust filled the corridor. They pushed through into a maintenance tunnel, barely escaping the incoming fire. But Emily didn't relax, because now they were deeper. And deeper meant worse. The hidden chamber. They emerged into a vast underground chamber. Everything stopped. Even Mike froze. Because below them was not just a lab. It was a reactor-like structure, glowing deep red at its core. Massive cables ran across the ceiling like veins. Scientists moved around it behind glass barriers. Not soldiers. Scientists. Working calmly, as if war didn't exist outside. Noah whispered, "That's it." Jenna frowned, "That's what?" Noah's voice dropped. "The core system." Mike looked at Emily. "That thing is what?" Emily stared at the glowing structure, and then said something no one expected. "That's the reason for the war." A silence followed. Heavy. Unnatural. Then alarms shifted again. Different tone. Deeper. More aggressive. Emily narrowed her eyes. "No, that's not containment." Noah checked his system. His face went pale. "That's activation protocol." Mike's voice dropped. "Activation of what?" Emily's grip tightened. Then she said it. "The weapon." The red glow from the reactor core pulsed like a heartbeat. Slow, steady, unnatural. Emily Carter stood motionless on the upper platform of the underground chamber, watching it like it was watching her back. Something about it didn't feel like technology. It felt alive. Below them, scientists continued moving behind reinforced glass, completely unfazed by the alarms echoing through the facility. That was the most disturbing part. No panic. No evacuation. Just routine. like an intrusion was expected, like this moment had already been accounted for. The wrong silence. Mike leaned closer. Why aren't they reacting? Jenna scanned the lower levels through her scope. Either they don't care, or they already have what they wanted. Noah's hands moved rapidly over his device. I'm trying to access central logs, but everything encrypted from inside the system. Emily's eyes narrowed. Inside. Noah nodded slowly. This isn't externally controlled. The system isn't locked from the outside. Mike frowned. So what does that mean? Noah hesitated, then said it. It means someone inside is running it. A silence dropped instantly. Even the reactor's glow seemed heavier after that. Emily didn't speak. She was watching the movement below more carefully now. And then she noticed it. A scientist standing slightly apart from the others. Not working. Not rushing. Just observing. Watching them. The first crack. Emily raised her hand. Do you see that man near the central console? Jenna zoomed in. Yeah. Mike squinted. What about him? Emily's voice turned colder. He's not reacting like the rest. Noah checked his screen. Then froze. That ID tag, it's not Russian military. Jenna turned sharply. Then who is it? Noah's voice dropped. It's NATO. The word hit like a bullet. For a second, nobody moved. Mike laughed once, but there was no humor in it. That's not possible. But Emily didn't react to denial. She reacted to patterns. And everything was suddenly making sense in the worst possible way. The secrecy. The rushed deployment. The lack of backup. The fact they were sent alone. The truth starts breaking through. Emily stepped closer to the glass barrier, overlooking the reactor. The red core pulsed stronger now. Faster. Noah whispered, something's escalating, the system is powering up. Jenna looked uneasy. Powering up for what? Emily didn't answer immediately, because she already suspected the answer. Then, a voice came through their comms, but not from their channel. Not Russian. Not American. A third frequency. Clean. Controlled. Familiar. Lieutenant Carter. Emily froze instantly. Mike looked at her. Did you just hear? She raised a hand. Silence. The voice came again. Calm. Almost familiar. You've done well reaching the core. Noah's face drained of color. That's inside calm encryption. How is that possible? Emily slowly turned in place. Who is this? A pause. Then the voice responded. You were never meant to stop it. Jenna whispered, Emily, that's not our comms. The voice continued. You were meant to confirm it. Mike stepped back. Confirm what? Emily's grip tightened on her rifle. Show yourself. Another pause. Then, the lights in the chamber flickered, and the central glass wall opposite them opened. A man stepped forward. Clean uniform. No dust. No fatigue. American insignia. Emily's eyes narrowed instantly. Mike whispered, no way. Jenna lowered her weapon slightly. That's U.S. command. Noah shook his head. No, that clearance level is above field command. The man smiled slightly. Lieutenant Carter. He spoke like he already knew her. Like he had been watching her for a long time. I'm Director Hale. The betrayal revealed. Emily didn't lower her weapon. Explain. Hale looked at the reactor behind him. Do you know what you're standing above? Noah answered instantly. A Russian experimental energy weapon facility. Hale nodded. Partially correct. Mike frowned partially. Hale turned slightly. This project is multinational. Silence. Then he said the words that changed everything. Joint NATO, Russian development. Jenna stepped back. That's impossible. Hale continued calmly. Not only possible, necessary. Emily's voice sharpened. Necessary for what? Hale looked at her directly. Balance. A pause. Then, global deterrence cannot survive conventional warfare anymore. This system ensures controlled escalation, no full-scale nuclear exchange, no global collapse. Mike snapped. You built a weapon under the Arctic and call it balance. Hale didn't react. I call it prevention. Emily took one step forward. And the war? Hale exhaled slightly. That is an operational phase. Noah whispered, operational phase. Jenna looked at Emily. This wasn't a war, it's a test. Hale nodded. Correct. The real mission. Emily's voice dropped dangerously. So where do we fit in? Hale looked at her for a long moment. Then answered. You were not sent to stop the system. A pause. You were sent to verify its resilience under combat pressure. Mike's face twisted. You used us as field stress testing. Hale didn't deny it. Emily stared at him, slowly understanding. We were bait. Hale corrected softly. Data points. That word hit harder than bullets. Jenna's voice shook slightly. And if we fail? Hale's expression stayed calm. Then the system adapts. Noah looked horrified. You're insane. Hale turned slightly toward the reactor. I am practical. The activation begins. Suddenly, alarms changed again. This time deeper. More urgent. The reactor pulse accelerated. Red light filled the chamber. Noah's device screamed with alerts. It's spiking, energy output is unstable. Mike shouted, what's happening now? Hale didn't move. It is learning. Emily's eyes widened slightly. Learning what? Hale looked at her. Conflict response. Jenna whispered, Emily, we're still inside it. The reactor pulse intensified. Metal structures began vibrating. The entire fortress was reacting. Adapting. And then, Hale said the final line. Unfortunately, Lieutenant, your presence has accelerated the final phase. Emily realized it instantly. This wasn't just betrayal. It was containment failure. And they were inside it. The entire underground fortress was shaking now. Not from explosions, not from enemy fire, but from the reactor itself waking up. A deep red glow pulsed through the walls like veins under skin, faster and more violent with every passing second. The air felt heavier, charged, like the atmosphere was turning electric. Emily Carter stood in the middle of it all, her rifle raised, eyes locked on Director Hale. But something had changed. This wasn't a mission anymore. It was containment failure. And they were standing inside the failure. The point of no return. Noah's voice cracked through the comms. Emily, core temperature is climbing beyond safe limits. If it reaches threshold, this whole facility will collapse into a chain reaction. Mike shouted over the alarm noise, then shut it down. Noah shook his head frantically. It's not a manual system anymore. It's fully autonomous. Adaptive locking protocol is engaged. Jenna tightened her grip on her rifle. So we're trapped. A beat of silence. Then Emily spoke. We're not trapped. All eyes turned to her. She slowly stepped forward, never taking her eyes off Hale. We're inside the control point. Hale's expression remained calm, but his eyes sharpened slightly. You cannot stop it now, Lieutenant. Emily replied coldly, "Watch me." The betrayal becomes a battlefield. Suddenly, the chamber shifted. Metal barriers dropped from the ceiling. Emergency containment protocols activated. But not to protect the system. To isolate them. Mike barely rolled out of the way as a steel gate slammed down where he stood. "Okay, he just locked us in." Jenna fired at a descending drone turret. Sparks exploded midair as it crashed. Noah shouted, "This is automated defense response. It's treating us as contamination." Emily moved fast. Too fast. She shot 2 advancing security units, then ducked behind a structural pillar. Her voice was steady. "Noah, is there a physical override?" Noah hesitated. "Yes, but it's inside the reactor control ring." Mike cursed, "Of course it is." Emily nodded once. "That's where we go." Hale watched them calmly from the central platform. "You won't reach it." Emily looked up at him. "We already have." The run into fire. They moved. The chamber erupted into chaos. Automated turrets activated from the walls. Laser targeting systems swept the floor. Drones descended like metallic insects. Jenna fired precision shots mid-run. Mike planted a charge on a support column, boom. A section collapsed, blocking incoming drones. Noah hacked through emergency panels as they ran. Left corridor, it's unstable but open. Emily led without hesitation. They sprinted through a narrowing passage, as alarms became almost deafening. Behind them, Hale's voice echoed through the system. "This outcome was predicted." Emily didn't slow. "Then your prediction was wrong." The core ring. They burst into the central reactor ring. It was massive. A circular chamber surrounding the glowing core. An enormous suspended structure of red energy and rotating metallic frameworks. It looked less like machinery now, and more like something breathing. Noah stopped instantly. "This is it. This is the control interface." But before he could move, the system reacted. A shockwave of energy pulsed outward. Everyone was thrown back. Mike slammed into a wall. Jenna barely held her footing. Noah dropped to one knee. Emily stayed standing. Barely. Her boots dug into the metal floor as she raised her head slowly. And saw it. The system wasn't just reacting. It was scanning her. The final choice. Hale's voice came again, now closer. "You cannot disable what is already learning." Emily turned toward him. He had entered the chamber. Calm, controlled, certain. "You've seen enough," he said. "Now you understand why you were chosen." Mike growled, "Chosen? You used us as lab rats." Hale ignored him. "This system doesn't end war." He looked at Emily. "It evolves it." Emily stepped forward. "And you think that's acceptable?" Hale answered without hesitation. "Yes." A pause. Then Emily said quietly, "Then I'll end both." The impossible over. Noah crawled toward the console. "Emily, I found it. There's a manual kill switch, but it requires physical connection inside the core interface." Mike shook his head. "That'll fry anyone who connects to it." Noah looked at Emily. Silence. She understood immediately. Jenna stepped forward. "No way, you're not doing this alone." Emily didn't look away from the core. "You don't have clearance for this level of shutdown protocol." Mike grabbed her arm. "We don't care about clearance." Emily finally looked at them. For the first time, something softer passed through her expression. Not fear. Not doubt. But acceptance. "I do." A heavy silence. Hale watched carefully. "You will die if you interface directly." Emily replied, "Then the system doesn't leave this room." The sacrifice run. Emily moved. Vast. Straight into the reactor energy field. The moment she crossed the threshold, alarms exploded again. Higher intensity, system overload warnings everywhere. Her body reacted instantly. Muscles tightening, vision shaking slightly from electromagnetic pressure. Mike shouted, "EMILY." Jenna fired, covering shots at incoming drones. Noah screamed into comms, "Connection window open, now." Emily reached the core interface. A glowing terminal suspended, inside rotating energy rings. She placed her hand on it, and the system responded. A surge of energy locked onto her neural interface. Pain hit instantly, but she didn't pull away. Inside the system, for a split second, she saw it. Not metal, not machines, but data streams, battle simulations, war patterns, future scenarios, millions of outcomes branching endlessly. The system wasn't just reacting to war. It was predicting it and shaping it. Emily gritted her teeth. No. She forced her thoughts through the interface. One command. Override. Noah's voice echoed faintly. It's working, it's accepting input. Hale's expression finally changed. For the first time, concern. Stop her. But it was too late. The final collapse. Emily initiated the shutdown cascade. The reactor screamed. Lights exploded across the chamber. Mike dragged Jenna behind cover as shockwaves tore through the structure. Hale shouted, "You'll collapse the entire facility." Emily's voice came through the chaos. Then it collapses. Energy surged violently. The core began destabilizing. Noah shouted, "It's reaching critical failure." Emily's vision blurred, but she held on. Final override confirmed. Then, she released the system. The end of the fortress. A massive explosion of red energy burst outward, but instead of outward destruction, it imploded. The reactor collapsed inward, systems shutting down one by one. The fortress began to die. Emergency alarms faded into silence. Metal groaned. The structure started collapsing. Mike grabbed Noah, "Move." Jenna pulled Emily as the interface disengaged. Emily stumbled backward as the energy field vanished. The system was gone, but so was stability. The entire facility was collapsing. Escape through ruin. They ran through collapsing corridors. Explosions echoed behind them. Ice cracked above. The Arctic fortress that once stood hidden beneath the world was falling apart. They burst out into the freezing storm just as the structure behind them imploded into the ice. A massive shockwave rippled across the snowfield. Then, silence. Only wind remained. Final scene. Emily stood in the snow, breathing heavily, watching the collapsing ruins disappear beneath the ice. Mike, Jenna, and Noah stood beside her. No one spoke for a long moment. Then Noah whispered, "So it's over." Emily didn't answer immediately. Then finally, "No." She looked out into the white horizon. This was just one node. A cold wind passed. Somewhere deep beneath the world, the system still existed. Waiting, learning, evolving. Final end. Emily turned away from the frozen ruins. The mission was over. But the war was. And somewhere in the silence of the Arctic, the system was still listening.